Oh, this is a doozy. Cue the intro.
Hello.
Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the court of the EDI Jester. How are we, ladies and gentle beings? And good morning to you on this cold and chilly morning. Cold and chilly? It's not even the end of September yet. I had my mate round last night for dinner. Great bloke. So we having a bit of a laugh at the joke. You know, all the stuff, and my windows are open. He said, oh, it's chilly out there. I'm not closing my damn window. No, I won't give in. Not till the end of October. Then I'll shut it, if it gets cold enough, right? How dare the weather tell me how I will live. How are you all? I'm excited this morning. Can you tell? There's a smile on the Jester's face. And now I'm going to tell you why there's a smile on the Jester's face. After I've told you to go and become a warrior teacher, right? Buy me a coffee. You can PayPal me now, which is fab. So that's in the link as well. But I've got the links to this in the Dubris, right? Everything you're going to need, okay? Because this is huge. And they ain't going to like it up them, right? Now, about 10 o'clock last night, Stephen Edgerton, right, who is Edginton, Edginton, works for the Telegraph, right? Okay, the Telegraph, right? Who I think have done some of the best coverage on this, along with the Daily Mail. Now, obviously, no left-leaning person's going to agree on that because they think they're all, oh, it's the right. We fought 2 wars to stop these guys, They think that it's all a bit extreme. But nevertheless, Stephen Edgerton, who's a bearded, kind of kindly fellow, very calm interviewer that you can see on the Telegraph, has posted what I think is a very important article. So I'm gonna call this one Breaking. Everything they stand for. So we've got some good news. I think it's good news, right? It's certainly something that's going to hopefully draw the public's attention to what's going on in bloody Whitehall. And it's gloriously put together. And it hasn't come from the Telegraph going, moan, moan, moan. This has come from the civil service, right? So this has come from people that matter, is the point I'm making. Now, exclusive. Major Telegraph investigation. So this is a big piece, okay? It's not just going to be one thing. There's going to be numerous ones. It's a bit like, what investigative journalism should be. So it says here, investigation into woke Whitehall finds radical trans race ideology imposed across civil service. Now, for those of us that have done work with the civil service, we know what they're like. The civil service is absolutely replete with liberals and lefties, right? Okay? It just is. Okay? It's that kind of thing. But normally, when I first started working there, some 15, 20 years ago, the key thing for the civil service was impartiality. Impartiality. They did the job according to the wishes of the people, which was given to them through the government of the day. Impartiality was a key and should be a key plank of being employed as a civil servant. What you thought politically is immaterial. You are a public servant. You are there to serve the public. Your politics do not matter, right? Nor should they come into how you do your job. Get it? Public servants, okay? That went out the window a while ago, methinks, but you get the idea, yes? So in essence, what's happened is that there has been thousands of documents, Steve Edgerton said it here, after going through hundreds of documents from more than half a dozen departments and speaking with former, current SPADS cabinet ministers and many whistleblower civil servants. We will run stories for the next 3 days going inside Whitehall to uncover a raging cultural war. 3 days are the reason to get up. What could you ask for? What's wrong with you, right? So let's start with one of the articles, shall we? Okay. Civil servant revolt at woke Whitehall takeover. This is by Steve Edgerton, who's working with Gordon Rayner, who is the associate editor for this piece. The cabinet secretary has been warned by senior civil servants of a woke takeover of Whitehall that risks improperly influencing government policy. Simon Case was told in a letter signed by 42 staff from 16 departments that ideology on gender promoted by trans activists has become embedded in the civil service in a significant breach of impartiality. Okay? Oh my! Oh gosh! Oh wow! Okay? It says the concept that everyone has a gender identity, gender identity doesn't exist. So, gender identity, which is more important than their sex, is treated as undisputed fact. Undisputed fact. Get that? Unbelievable, right? Staff who dare air gender critical views, meaning they believe there are two biological sexes that cannot be changed, that's a fact, suffer serious harassment at work and live with a pervasive fear they will be victimised, the letter adds. I meet people like that all the time. Some of my warrior teachers are like that. As a result, it says the operation of government is being distorted and the authors plead for urgent action to ensure that civil service impartiality is upheld and freedom of belief is respected. The Civil Service's head of human resources has met some of the signatories to discuss their concerns, but the letter, along with extensive evidence of the way highly contentious beliefs are promoted in numerous Whitehall departments, has been leaked to the Telegraph amid complaints that the response has been inadequate. Gender-critical beliefs are protected by the Equality Act 2010, which also protects people against discrimination on the grounds of gender reassignment. The authors of the letter argue that only one of those rights is given any weight by the civil service. A signatory of the letter told the Telegraph there has been a widespread woke takeover of Whitehall that our most senior officials have swallowed hook, line and sinker. A woke takeover. Hook, line and sinker. The letter states that the culture in the civil service distorts the operation of government in many ways, and it is reasonable to be concerned that it could improperly influence government policy. Mr. Case and Rishi Sunak now face questions over their alleged failure to tackle the problem. Writing in the Telegraph, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, a former Minister for our Government Efficiency, I always think of a cat with a top hat on when I mention him, with a monocle, cigarette. Mogg. The letter states that the culture in Mr. Case and Rishi Sunak face questions. The Telegraph, Rees-Mogg says, a former Minister for Government Efficiency, says the disclosure must spur action from Mr. Case and ultimately the Prime Minister. It is completely unacceptable that the civil service has been politicised in this way. Cabinet ministers have long been concerned about bias in the civil service when it comes to gender politics. In 2021, the then Equalities Minister Liz Truss ordered Whitehall departments to withdraw from a controversial diversity scheme run by charity Stonewall. Following accusations, it was promoting extreme ideologies. In turn, the civil service has set a goal of becoming the most inclusive employer in the UK. Fuck off. Right, just fuck off. In order to attract, develop and retain the most diverse talent. No, you'll just attract nutters like you, right? Because you think that you'll be recruiting for the right reasons, but you won't be, right? They'll just attract nutters. They think, oh yeah, we'll get the best people. You won't get. We're seeing. I was with a mate of mine last night, as I said, right? We were talking about the fact that there's incompetence ridden throughout society. Incompetence. Waiters, people on the phone, anybody who's designed to help you, doctors, nurses, civil servants, absolute unbelievable incompetence embedded across our society. And it's wokery that's done that. It's this kind of, diversity hiring that's done that. It's equity that's done that. You've got government departments, the civil service here, that are pursuing equity. Equity, that's communism, right? Okay. Mogg's not wrong. Here we go. It is highly unusual for civil servants to write directly to the Cabinet Secretary with their concerns, and even more unusual for such letters to become public knowledge. Documents shared with the Telegraph show staff have been asked to undergo training that says biological men can use female-only facilities and to avoid gendered language such as the phrase mum and dad in some circumstances for fear of causing offence. In departments struggling with inflationary pressures and backlogs caused by the pandemic, civil servants are being encouraged to spend their time attending courses or watching videos that promote LGBTQ+ allyship. In one department, staff shared 30 Days of Pride online calendar with different videos and articles for each day, where it would take almost 6 hours to watch and read them all. Sir Jacob, who drew up plans to rein in such behaviour when he was in government, says woke culture has entered the soul of the civil service. Attempts to implement reform are blocked by senior civil servants, he says, adding, this obstruction and wokery cannot continue. It's designed, quite simply, to stop democracy working. Interesting point there from Mogg. It's not just democracy. It's designed to stop everything working. It's designed to steal your time and to attempt to get you to believe bonkers nonsense. That's what critical social justice was. And woke, right? People go, what does woke mean? I'll tell you what woke means. Woke means a pathological obsession with power and oppression narratives built on falsity and lies. There you go. That's woke. So it's then got some really good figures from the civil service in a nice little infographic. There are 17.8 billion is the total salary bill for the civil service, right? The number of people who work in the civil service is 510,080, which is a quarter more than in 2016. So it's gone up 125,000. Why? 6.1% identify themselves as lesbian, gay, bisexual or other, right? So that's us, yes, right? The gays. I don't know what the other is, God knows. Headcount at the largest government department, the Department of Work and Pensions, is 94,160. The average civil service pay is 34,590, and 54.5% of civil servants are women. So that 94,000 sent out to those people, that 30 days of pride, that's 6 hours they spent doing that, and there's 94,000 of them. How many hours is that of public money? These little infographics helpful. Go work out some figures, see what you come up with. It's fun to do, right? Mr. Case, who has served 3 prime ministers since being appointed as cabinet secretary and head of the civil service in 2020, delegated the reply to the letter to the government's head of HR. There's the problem. At the heart of our society, our democratic society, which needs an impartial civil service to be able to function, there is exactly the problem. You give it to the head guy's, I'll give it to HR. Who are the bloody problem? It's just priceless. He delegated the reply to the letter to the government's head. Bear in mind, he's got evidence. He's had it from staff, a number of them, senior people as well. He's got the evidence, which Edgerton's going to eke out over 3 days, just to cause me pain, right? Okay? And, just give it HR. I don't want to deal with it. So it's absolutely unbelievable. This is the inertia of a state within a state. This is the inertia of a bureaucratic left state, right? Oh, it's not me. My mate was saying last night about this, and the fact that nobody bothers with anybody who's got disability, but that's the one thing that the most people are discriminated upon. They're all doing this woke crap. And then when you go to the top guy and go, oi mate, the public want to know what's going on, he goes, not me, nothing to see here. Have you spoken to HR? that act of getting this and then going speak to HR should be enough. Fire him. That's it. Fire him. Nothing to see here. It is absolutely a bureaucratic, leftist, socialist state within the state, going against the wishes of the public, being not impartial at all, actually being partial towards a far left, homophobic, misogynistic, child-mutilating cult. There you go. That's what this is, right? Right, the letter which was sent to Steve Case, which was also sent to all permanent secretaries, the most senior civil servants in each ministry, warns that impartiality, one of the core values of the Civil Service Code, is being ignored in respect of sex and gender issues. And these signatories, the people that signed it, also include senior managers, senior lawyers and policy advisors, say, we are concerned that the widespread incorporation of the concept of gender identity into the language and internal policies of the civil service constitutes a significant breach of impartiality. They added that the civil service communications and HR policies routinely promote a belief system in which everyone has a gender identity which is more important than their sex. Not everyone shares this belief, the letter says. Yet, it is often treated as undisputed fact, and those who disagree are characterised as uninformed or hateful. I would say that, if you're interviewing somebody, right, do you think you've got a gender identity? Yeah. Next! Nutters, right? They're complete nutters, right? 8 of the 40, here we go, it's under the subheading of fear of being victimised. 8 of the 42 signatures are anonymous as they regard it too dangerous to their careers to reveal their identities. That's terrible. They say that the civil service is being reordered around an ideologically motivated belief system, that single-sex facilities are opened up to anyone on the basis of self-declared gender, and that many civil servants have experienced some form of professional disadvantage for suggesting that biological sex is more important than gender identity. The letter says some of us have suffered serious harassment in the workplace. Others go to work with a pervasive fear that we will be victimised for what we believe. Mr. Case is urged to take action to ensure that the civil service impartiality is upheld and freedom of belief is respected, rather than allowing departmental policies, training and communication to assume that there is only one valid perspective. The letter was sent to Mr. Case on April 18th, and it was more than 2 months before they got a reply. 2 months! When the reply did come, it came from Fiona Ryland, the government's chief people officer, who wrote back on the 30th of June. We've then got a breakdown of Mr. Case. Mr. Case has been Cabinet Secretary and Head of the Civil Service since September 2020, serving under Boris Johnson, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. He has also served Cameron and Theresa May. In his previous role as Principal Private Secretary to the Prime Minister, and in between the 2 jobs he worked as Private Secretary to Prince William. Is this Humphrey from Yes Minister? It is, isn't it? Yes, Prime Minister. It's Humphrey, isn't it, from Yes Minister? During his tenure, the civil service has been criticised for promoting wokeism through events. There's a picture of him. You are not going to be surprised. He looks like a typical soy boy, right? So, have a look. There's a picture of it, right? During the tenure, his civil service has been criticised for promoting wokeism through events, policies and guidance. In April 2023, 42 civil servants from 60 departments wrote to Mr. Case, urging him to take urgent action. The Cabinet Secretary did not respond and allowed the head of the Civil Service HR, Fiona Ryland, to reply. In 2021, Mr. Case was put in charge of an investigation into the Partygate affair by Mr. Johnson, but it had to step down after it emerged a party had been held in his private office. These bloody lefties, right? Earlier this year, the Daily Telegraph revealed that he had mocked tourists put in quarantine hotels during COVID as hilarious in a WhatsApp exchange with Matt Hancock. You're not going to be surprised by the picture. I don't know why, but it's just they're a type, aren't they? Oh God, vandals. Now, this HR bint, right, said she was concerned and took the matter seriously, agreeing that gender critical beliefs were protected under the Equality Act 2010 and should be respected. They shouldn't be respected, they should be upheld. Right? A government source, she suggested that upcoming civil service impartiality guidance would provide greater clarity. No, it won't. No, it won't. What do you think producing a document's going to end this? You need to fire a few. There needs to be some public executions, Find the worst offenders, fire them publicly. That's what you do, right? And then the rest of these woke sheep that work for the civil servants will fall in line, because they're lefties. Individualism doesn't matter to them. Right, so the people with any gumption that are in the service, be they left or right-leaning, which doesn't matter because they've got to be impartial, the people with any gumption who are like, hang on a minute, things need looking at, let's get the job done, they're the ones you need to keep. So you need to identify a few of these left lunatic sheep, woke sheep, pick 10 of the top ones across the departments in the civil service and publicly fire them. That's what you do. You have, public executions, so to speak, in the modern day. Right? Publicly fire them. That's how you start to change the culture. We're going to produce another document which will be too long for anybody to read. Off you go, Fiona. civil service impartiality guidance would provide greater clarity from civil service impartiality guidance, followed by, wait for it, and ensure that diversity and inclusion training was not biased. Diversity and inclusion training is left-wing crap, you ridiculous woman. What? Come on, Fiona, you can do better. We'll ensure that you can't do diversity and inclusion training because it is absolutely rancid to its core. Whatever it was originally meant to be, which I know fully well what it was meant to be in the beginning, it is gone. Long gone. Right? Long gone. You're trying to sell, rancid prawns to a restaurant. That's what you're trying to do. Right? We should make sure that diversity... They've got no intention of stopping. None. Faced with a letter from major civil servants asked to look into this by the head of the civil service, they have no intentions of stopping any of this crap and spending public money on indoctrinating people and treating those that won't believe their fantasies as if they are some kind of traitor in the pile. It's a disgusting abrogation of their responsibilities. Disgusting. A Cabinet Office spokesman said the Cabinet Secretary and senior civil service leader take the issues raised in this letter seriously. No, they don't. They don't. They don't. They just think it's a fly in their ointment. Our response outlines how the concerns that staff raised are being addressed, including through updated impartiality guidance. It also says that it is important that civil servants recognise the diversity of opinion on these issues. Just diversity of opinion. Just get stuffed, right? Get them to be impartial. Stop messing about now. Then we've got a letter. Ooh, right, from a civil servant. Called anonymous, right, for obvious reasons. Because the likes of Fiona and her crew have made the place unworkable for anybody that believes in reality. I work as a civil servant for a major government, but the temptation to do Fiona's voice is overwhelming. But I shall resist. I work as a civil servant for a major government department, and I'm part of what I believe is a silent majority being bullied into accepting the wholesale adoption of gender identity ideology. Freedom of speech does not exist for anyone whose personal or religious beliefs clash with the official version of reality, or for women who might have been victims of sexual assault and object to sharing women-only spaces with biological males. Indeed, those who exercise their legally protected right to change your biological sex, the legally protected right to gender critical views, the belief you cannot change your biological sex, it's not a belief, it's a fact, right, are accused of bigotry and hate compared to racists and harassed or actively silenced, usually by having their views ignored. Affinity groups, right? Affinity groups, hello, affinity group, right? Affinity groups, right? Have started through staff networks which are diversity groups set up by civil servants and HR. Gender ideology has become embedded right across the civil service with the connivance or cowardice of senior leaders who seem genuinely scared of this issue. Even the Women's Network has been replaced by the Gender Equality Network, which promotes the notion that our biological sex is an identity rather than a mutable characteristic. The result for the country at large is that impartiality and objectivity, both core civil service values, are being lost, and in their place is one side of a heavily contested social and political issue that is presented as fact. Another heading, accusations of misgendering. If a complaint is made to articulate a concern about the inclusion of men in groups that relate specifically to female biology, such as the menopause, the complainant is dismissed as failing to understand diversity and inclusion, accused of misgendering, encouraged to educate themselves by reading approved policies, or will even receive veiled threats that they will be reported to their manager. The bullies of the left in action. The Stasi of the gender Borg. Senior civil servants say nothing to challenge the bizarre and offensive ideas. That's because they're spineless. Right? That's what happens, isn't it? That's what happens. Spineless, see? They wouldn't say anything because they want to avoid responsibility. This is what the leftist bureaucracies do. You know that, right? Chernobyl. All right? Get it? My warrior teachers will. Chernobyl. Okay? This is what leftists do. Lunatics. Right? I don't mean... You know who I don't mean. You know, the people that actually gave a damn about women, whether women paid equally or disabled people are treated properly. Those people who used to be the left. You didn't leave the left left you, right? But we now have to name it. It's the left, okay? Senior civil servants say nothing to challenge the bizarre and offensive ideas that are presented as fact. My guess is that they are as intimidated as everyone else from expressing a heretical viewpoint. Heretical, yes. One document aimed at educating civil servants on how to support transgender staff says part of gender transition is living in the gender with which a person identifies. This includes using the facilities they feel are right for them, such as toilets and changing rooms. There is no recognition, let alone organisational support, for any woman who may simply want privacy from the opposite sex, or who may, as a requirement of her religion, be required to use separate facilities from men, or who may have experienced sexual violence. The civil service makes it plain there is a hierarchy of rights, and that gender identity trumps both sex, faith, and belief. And in my mind, by the sound of it, disability. Who my friend last night, informed me is the single most important protected characteristic that garners more work for those who are attempting to ensure disabled people can take part in society without discrimination. And yet this, it's surreal, right? So what we're going to do now is, we're going to carry on, because it just gets worse and worse. But I've got to stop, because I need the loo. I'll be back in a minute, right? And we'll carry on, okay? With the video. See you in a bit. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Get to a certain age. How we doing, beeps? Right, let's carry on. Okay, the video, right? So, let's you and I look at it. Now, bear in mind that in the video there's a certain woman called Fox Fisher, right? Okay. At the end of the video, I've added Fox Fisher talking about gay people. This is being used by the civil service. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Many trans people experience inappropriate behaviour, both in the workplace and in their daily lives.
Oh, wrong door, love. The gents is down the hall. Look, you're not coming in here. You're some kind of pervert or something.
Hey everybody, Fox here. It's just at the end of the Mermaids residential that I've been at, which is like a secret retreat for trans kids and their families, and I just wanted to make a quick vlog about the importance of supporting young people, young trans people. I was called up actually last week because there were a few articles that hit the press asking whether 3 was too young for a child to know who they are and to say that they're trans. And I had to chat with a talk show host, and I'll leave the link below with the chat that I had. And the talk show host seemed actually very transphobic, and she said straight out that she had children and that, one of her young boys had a phase where they were dressing, in pink or tutus or something when they were 5, and she said, well, they just grew out of it. I just thought he might be gay, but they grew out of it. It reminds me of what one of the mums was saying here actually about gender and sexuality, and that she feels, for the trans youth at least, that it doesn't help to have trans, the T, latched onto LGB, because when it comes to kids, I do believe, obviously, for anyone, we're talking about gender, we're not talking about sexuality, and that kind of muddies the waters a little bit because people start to think that it's a deviant kind of thing. 2 or 3 is old enough. A young child at 2 or 3 can express preference. They can tell you whether they want orange squash or raspberry squash, or whether they like pink or blue, and whether they want to wear a dress or not wear a dress. So I think it's really, really important to just be aware and just I don't know, just recognize what your kids are telling you and notice those signs. Because for me, when I didn't, because there was no awareness around trans issues, and because of that, I was just seen as a bad kid. I was seen as the black sheep, a difficult child, the one that wouldn't conform, the tomboy, and I had such a difficult time because of it, because I was seen as a naughty child, when actually I wasn't a naughty child. I was a very clever child, and I was very, I really wanted to please people, and then for me, when I hit the wrong puberty and I felt very much alone with everything, it was a horrible time, and I'm really lucky to have made it. That's the end of my rant about trans kids, but this weekend has been just so wonderful. I think it's my third Mermaids residential. It's my second time at this location, which is very much like an American summer camp, and I just love it so much, and the people here are really, really special, and I'm so grateful that this whole place exists. Anyway, there's a case going on at the moment, and I can't talk too much about it, but a young child has been taken away from their loving single mother, and it makes you feel so frustrated that the services have all turned on her, and that they don't realise that what they're doing is absolute abuse, and they can't take the trans out of this kid. You know, this little girl is not going to suddenly change their views and live their life as a boy, which is what they're assigned at birth. You know, it's just going to traumatize them, and it just breaks my heart that a young person like that is having to go through that right now, where they've been taken away from their mother, they're being made to live their life as a boy, being treated like a boy, and you know, it must be pretty scary, it must be pretty awful. So I hope that she can get through this, and yeah, it doesn't scar her too much. Anyway, I'm so glad Mermaids exists. It's such a fantastic event, really great people. I was here with about 85 plus people, kids and parents, siblings as well, and yeah, thank God Mermaids exists. Alright, look after yourselves, and I will chat more soon. Bye.
What do you make of that? You know, it still chills me to my bones when I watch that. A child can tell you, it still chills me to my bones. They know what Kool-Aid they want, what dress they want to wear, whether they like pink or blue. And, you know, don't confuse it with LGB, because that's deviant. The civil service using this person, this woman. Right? And that you can't get past that. That's homophobia. Right? What the hell is the civil service doing? Your guess is as good as mine. But it just gets better. Because we also have another article. We'll get links in the Dubris for you, of course, again, from the erstwhile Edgerton, Rayner, Woodward and Bernstein of the Telegraph, who are going to expose this nonsense and continue to expose it over the next few days, I hope. But the extent has been laid bare by this dossier. I mean, go and read the articles yourself. But the staff in the government departments are being talked about gender ideology, which affirms the idea of, we know what it is, you don't need me to say it again. But instead of clearing backlogs from the pandemic, staff are spending work time on attending lectures on LGBT plus issues, or watching videos telling them biological men can use women-only facilities if they self-identify as female, which is what you just saw in the video, yeah? It's so weird, right? When I watched that video, okay, I just can't help but thinking, what's this bloke doing? Right? And they're framing a woman who objects to a male in her toilet, i.e. a space where she should get privacy. A woman who objects to a male who should get... They're framing it that she's the bad guy. 54% of the civil service are women. How many of them have gone, yeah, I'm the bad guy? This is indoctrination. This is not only indoctrination. This is thought by fiat. Don't do it to me, do it to Julia. It's pure Orwell. Pure Orwell. Don't believe your eyes. That's not a man. Look the other way. That's why it's just insane. But they're so insane that they can't see it's insane. Yeah, they're so caught in their ideological bubble, because they can only have one lens. If in the ideology, you only have one lens. They're so caught by it that they are unable to see that video, that clip that I showed you, is utter insanity on film. They can't see it. Right, they're unable to see it. Now that's not only is it they're unable to see it, they've used it. It's not been moaned about or groaned about much, because we're just getting it now, right? There'll be some that will have done, some people who are working in the civil service that would have done, but the vast majority of people went, oh, I'm saying nothing. At a gaslighting video that tells you that women who don't want men in their toilets are wicked, are heretical, are witches. Right? That's what they're telling you, okay? It's the Inquisition of old. You need to get your head around that, because this is an incredibly dangerous situation. I'll laugh and I'll joke, I do, but this is dangerous. 4 women in the civil service. The government needs to set up a department or some sort of organisation headed by me. Could you imagine? Dreadful, eh? Come on, get in the van. Right, it's like some McCarthy thing. Have you an hour? Have you been? Like I said, with two things here. You got a list of P45s, and then you got the van. Is that a P45 or a van? No, that's a van. How do you know? Watch. Do you believe in gender identity? Yes. Yeah, men and women. Oh right. Okay. Thanks so much. Right, call them in. Then play the music. They're coming to take me away. It's got to go. In one department, they did a 30-day Pride calendar, which I mentioned, and they also talked about the history of the Stonewall riots. Can you imagine? Martha P. Johnson threw the first brick. Martha P. Johnson was Malcolm P. Johnson. He was a gay man. He had nothing to do with any of this gender bloody nonsense. The liars. They'll be lying about it. Right, and when they find out that they're lying and they see Malcolm saying, I'm a gay man, they go, oh, all right, okay, all right, yeah, we understand, we got it. And then they'll put in Marsha P. Johnson, who may have. Because they won't accept the truth, because they're ideologically so embedded that they believe that the video that they showed was a proper and fit training video to be used across the civil service, who are people who are put there to serve us and paid by us for the government of the day. Absolutely beyond the pale. In one department, I've sort of done that. Workers in government departments are also being bombarded with material about white privilege and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. It's utterly surreal, that bunch of grifters, right? We already know about Ibram X. Kendi. I'm going to do something on that later. But Ibram X. Kendi, he can't find the money, he's done nothing. They're a bunch of grifters. And they're pushing this in the civil service with their ideological blinders on. It's a socialist state within a state, and it needs to be absolutely torn to pieces. You've got to get them out. Find the heads. Find the ones at the top that think it's okay. And just get them in a room and go, that's it, you're done. Go. Right? The people in the civil service that believe this crap and are following it need to see blood on the walls at the highest level. Blood on the walls, metaphorically, of course. But blood on the walls at the highest, metaphorically, in order for this to stop. So they've written, as I've already been through with you this morning, but there's just some great stuff in this second article about this BLM business and all that nonsense. The newsletter that was sent out, right, in July by the MOD's Gender Equality Network. Nutters, right, okay? G-E-N, Gender Equality Network. It's not a mistake. Okay, the newsletter said, depending on the culture, people who identify as other genders have been associated with sacred powers, spirituality, and are thought to be blessings to the family and community they're born into. No, it was just mostly to deal with effeminate gay men so that the other men didn't beat the crap out of them. Right? You're lying. Many North American indigenous tribes had no constructs of gender and embraced its fluidity before colonization. In many societies, the gender binary is a product and tool of colonialism and white supremacy. They've got the whole filthy udder, haven't they? Critical race theory, queer theory, gender identity, ideology. I wonder if environmentalism will pop up at some point. I'm sure it will. Because, where the nutters are, the nutter flowers will grow. The document also promoted a non-binary activist who claimed in a television interview in September 22 that there are as many genders as there are people. The remarks were made by our friend, Alok Vade Menon, a self-described gender non-conforming and trans feminine writer who was included as a part of a list of brilliant people in public life who are blazing a trail for a different way of thinking about gender. He's a rancid homophobe. For God's sake, what are you doing? The newsletter also urged civil servants to use gender-neutral language. They were told, don't use ladies and gentlemen when you start a meeting. Don't use ladies and gentlemen when you start a meeting, right? I'd use that as a filtration tool, right? So I'd have my men in the white van outside waiting, and I'd go in and welcome, good morning. And I'd like to welcome all ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me, right? Call them in. It was that one over there. Anybody else? No, I thought not. Now, on to our meeting. Gender identity doesn't exist. It's insane, right? The newsletter urged civil servants to use gender-neutral language. They were told about starting a meeting and that non-binary people may sometimes use gender-neutral pronouns like they, them, but there's a great variety of others, including Viver and Zizim. The horror of the civil service. They're gone. Rishi, you're going to have to do something, mate. Right? Because, we've got Queer Starmer's coming in, and he's got an army of these lunatics already in the civil service to enforce the edicts, right? using the law that you've just passed about free speech, about safety on the internet. They're just you've handed authoritarian cultists from the left the ability to silence 51% of the population so that men in dresses can get their clackers off. That's what you've done. That's what you've done. It's going to be surreal. It's going to be absolutely surreal. Okay, so the MOJ hosted several events for Pride Month in June 2023, including one entitled "Let's Talk Menopause." Look at you plus with menopause. Okay. And then they were told that they shouldn't say mum and dad. Right? They had allies training which lasted 90 minutes. During one session attended by more than 60 civil servants over Zoom, staff were asked to describe their weekends to their colleagues, but to avoid mentioning the genders of anyone involved, including gendered pronouns, the names of any places you visit, or anything else that might give away your own or another's sexuality or gender identity. That's going to be a pretty short story, isn't it? Went to pond with people. You understand what they're doing here, right? Restricting language, restricting thought, restricting your ability to speak. These are the Stasi. This is Maoist, right? And you've got to get your head around that fact that it is. They are absolutely insane. They're the same kind of collective that we saw in the worst crimes of the 20th century. Coming from the left. Let's do it for the good of the children. Let's do it for the good of the people who are vulnerable. That's their mantra. That's the danger. One may smile and still be a villain. Good people need ideology to do terrible things. Then there was bathroom restrictions at DEFRA, Department for Food and Rural Affairs. They said it was inappropriate behaviour to block biological men who identify as women from using female bathrooms. You just have to ask yourself, what the hell are these people playing at? They've even got, right, get this. The DEFRA video features, people doing whatever. We've just seen it. That's the sort of thing they're doing. They've also got another one which says that they knew from a very early age that there was something wrong. They continued, my mum tells a story that I was talking about from about 18 months, and I think from probably about 2 years old, I was telling her that I was a boy and I knew I was a boy. 2 years old, that's what they're saying. Holy shit. Yeah, you're not a boy. Get outside. The homophobia in all this is rank, isn't it? Right? So the original Dutch protocol, all gay. Tavistock, most of them gay or lesbian. Yep. Same-sex attracted. Off the scale homophobia. In May 2023, the Department for Work and Pensions had another Zoom type thing. Links to daily videos and articles including transgender children. What does it mean to be pansexual and the history of the Stonewall Riot? That's what I mentioned before. One day's topic coming out contained links to videos lasting 26 minutes in total, while other films and articles covered topics including the meaning of queer, healthcare system barriers for transgender people, and the importance of rainbow unity. This is a dangerous, victim-driven, psychopathic cult. I'm not talking about, psychopath. I'm talking subclinical psychopathy. That's what it is. Subclinical psychopathy. All victim movements end up like that. Have a look at what the worker Sam Venkin will tell you. They all end up like this. They were also calling for gender reform of the Gender Recognition Act, so they were actually active in that. And I don't know what to tell you. It's one of the craziest things I've ever come across in my life. And it's embedded so deeply in the civil service that nothing short of a revolution is going to change it, I'm afraid. So I don't see anyone that's got the appetite for that. You can, right now. You're looking at the screen. I'll quite happily go in there. Quite happily. Fire them all. Go on, take that. Here's 20 grand. Now bugger off. Go on, we don't need you. You're a nutter. Get them out. Right? The rest of them will soon cower into submission. Not the bravest people, civil servants, are they? Generally. Right? All those ones that I met, all those brilliant civil servants I met over 20 years ago, whose only wish was to put into play that which the government of the day had said, this is what the people want, please enable this, and they would have done it. They were impartial. They recognised that they were servants of the people. That is not what this is. The whole place needs an enema. That's what I think. But you can tell me in the Dubras, as I'm sure you will, exactly what you think. Go well.